Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we're looking at best bets here on Tuesday in the NBA as we roll along. A little 2-2 in the best bets last night, 3-1 in the player props. So we will take money, obviously, and the winnings as we move forward throughout this season. Continue to follow along by subscribing to that page. Also check out the player props episode that we have up alongside this one as we're doing for the rest of the season here. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first pick here. We're talking about a helpless Dallas team versus those potentially surging Nuggets.
Wow, helpless Dallas.
If Kyrie's not in. I know he's questionable.
Yeah, it does look like Kyrie's going to play, upgraded to questionable, but I mean, lumbar strain it's not a good look in terms of like firing out of the gates here. I'm going to take the Nuggets -3.5, and it keeps moving in my direction here. We're now at the point where a money line parlay with the Thunder or the Cavs and the Nuggets here is good plus money. Little best teams in the NBA parlay. Just fine here. Like a lot of the road teams here, I think the Nuggets are, though, surging. Yeah, they're now whole with Aaron Gordon, 8-2 in their last 10 against the West when they have Aaron Gordon. Includes a win over Dallas in the last one out. And, I mean, this is the home bookend thing that's really weird. But, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Like, the Nuggets couldn't score in the first quarter, had to come back. So, like, therefore, Dallas, some pundits being like, Dallas can hold on down the stretch, or you can look at it as like the Nuggets dominated them down the stretch. All they have to do is not struggle in the first, come out with a little more energy, or come back again. I mean, they said 17 in the first quarter. They averaged 33 in their previous 10 first quarters. It's usually not an issue here for the Nuggets. And then you look at just some of the bully ball stuff, right? 55-37 on the glass, 68-40 in paint points. And with no Luka, definitely no Kyrie, you're not getting in the paint if you're the Mavs, and that's going to be an issue. Even with Kyrie back, he might have to be Superman here to get them this win because like Lively, he can't deal with Jokic on his own. Jokic on quite a roll here. I mean, the spread might even dip a little bit if Kyrie does play. But yeah, when you look at a team that wins, that comes back to win, despite shooting 22% from three and just like bullies them in that way. And then a Mavs team that in their last 8, you call them helpless. I guess there's something to that. If they're giving up the second most field goals at the rim, attempts at least, second worst mid-range percentage. They're 23rd in offensive rating and 22nd in rebounding. And the Nuggets in that same span are like top 10 in everything in that category. They have quite the whole lineup here with Westbrook fitting in alongside Murray. They figured that out. And, of course, you have the best player in the world. And, of course, you don't have Luka going. So I will take Denver to stay hot here in the division in games that really matter.
It's weird. You said – it's different divisions. I always mix up the Northwest and the Southwest in the Western Conference. So you're totally justified there, especially when you have a team in Louisiana that's in the Western Conference. And like, it's just weird. But it's weird because you said the best player in the NBA, but Cat's not playing in this game for the Knicks. So I don't know. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm with you on this one entirely. I think we both have similar looks in that from that standpoint too, because I'll just get right into my best bet, which I think is undervaluing a team that has its players back, which is the Pelicans playing in Chicago against Los Bulls, and they are +1.5. I'll take the money line +105. I'll take an alt spread of like -3.5 for the Pellies and get this up to like +170. I'm fine with that if you want to sprinkle on there, maybe half a unit to get a full unit back with some kind of alt line. But I think they win this game. They've got Zion in there after. What do you do? Miss the team playing for he got suspended after coming back because he missed the team. Man, it was wild stuff for Zion in New Orleans, but he's back and he's going to be playing without Brandon Ingram or Herb Jones, and that's it. So finally, they have 4 of these like 6 like all defense or all star level players that are just not out there for them all season. Now they've got 4 of those 6 guys back anyway with BI and Herb out, but you've got Zion, DeJounte, CJ, and maybe most importantly, Nate, Trey Murphy is back as well because he's missed a few games over their last 5. But if you look at the last 5 games, Zion's played in 2 of them. Zion's lineup that he's most consistently out there with is going to be the lineup for tonight without Herb Jones. It'll be him and Missy and all the other 4 guys I just named with Murphy and Murray, et cetera, and McCollum. And in those minutes on the floor, this team is a plus 32 net rating. It's only 17 minutes over the course of the last 5 games, but they're a plus 32 net rating. And their strength of schedule, the teams that they've played they played the Celtics already. They lost by 1. That's really what I'm just like, honestly, if I were just going to cap this, I'd be like, they just lost to the Celtics by 1 with this lineup, and the Bulls are still the Bulls. I don't know what we're talking about. Like Zach LaVine scoring 31 or more a game for the last 5 games is not everything. It ain't it. And Kobe White is also questionable in this one. And if you want to get into some matchup stuff, the way you beat the Pelicans is you go down low for sure. You bang with Missy. You take advantage of the rail thin Rook, and you try to get keep him in the blender or just bully him if you have the personnel. Well, I mean, Vooch has been taking 40% of his shots from above the break, and a few of them in the extended paint, but really not getting to the rim at all. And that's where you want to beat them, is at the rim. That's where they're worse. With the 29th that they're in terms of limiting rim points over their last 10 games, and on the season they're bottom 5 as well. So they're just bad. I do think there'll be a lot of points in this game, but I don't think that Chicago will be able to keep up with New Orleans, who will have all times 4 guys that are legitimately able to score as well as Zach LaVine, or almost as well. So I'm completely fine with the offense. Like, this is going to be close to 240 in my opinion. Both these teams playing at a ridiculous pace. Chicago in the top 3 all season. New Orleans also very high, but especially with Zion out there, up to about 102.7 pace in their last 5 games. So this is going to be fast, but the Chicago offense is not one that I trust. They do try to get into the paint, especially because of Zach LaVine, but other than him, there's not much success. They are actually 8th in frequency getting into the paint, but they're 29th, second to last in field goal percentage once they get there. So they're not really finishing around the rim. And it's sort of like the defense for New Orleans, not something I respect, but it should be at least a little bit better with guys like Murphy and DJ Murray out there in this one.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a little bit better guarding the 3-point line now that they have those guys back. So that's going to be pretty much the key to holding down Chicago. But Chicago's not stopping them on the other end. Like, yeah, I love New Orleans to just get theirs here, hit a little parlay with DeJounte and Zion, because they've been lights out when they've been playing together here in just 3 games, like you mentioned, against good teams. This is not a good defensive team by any means, and certainly if Dosunmu and Kobe White are both out, like DeJounte, it should just be able to knife into the paint whenever the hell he wants. Not to mention, CJ and Trey back. Brandon Ingram, you mentioned Trey being so valuable. I feel like Brandon Ingram is just out until the trade deadline, and then maybe they find someone for him. But he's on injury ice. On trade watch ice.
We're trade ice. And it's funny because there's a couple other players like him where you're like, what do I do with a guy who needs to have the ball in his hands, can't play off ball, but also can't shoot threes? Why would I want him for anything more than $10 million a year? He thinks he's a $30 million a year player. So he and a couple other guys like him are going to have some trouble this offseason.
Jimmy Butler. Yeah. So Kings at the Bucks here. Look, I want to take the Kings with the points here. Certainly would love if Malik Monk is able to go. If not, I think we like the under even more at 228.5, because that just means Keon Ellis is out there hounding Damian Lillard. Either way, Keon should play a lot, and partially due to his prowess, Dame has just been gross against Sacramento. 22 a game, 33 and 21% splits. He is a minus 32 in his last 5, and 3 of those were when he was the man with Portland. So, I mean, I guess that's where the big minus comes from. But point is, they're going to be depending heavily on Giannis. He should get his. But, I mean, this new Kings team, man, Doug Christie has got these dudes bought in. I don't know if they're just playing really hard to prove in some way that Mike Brown was an issue. If Mike Brown just lost their ear, that stuff does happen, right? You just lose the locker room and they don't respond, and now you got new blood in there, and they're just absolutely elite. Rebounding, first of all, limiting second chance, limiting paint points, limiting field goal percentage at the rim, even with Domas being the last line of defense there. And then on offense, of course, he's cooking. They're 3rd in offensive rating during the 7-game win streak. Just a really simple, athletic-based offense that should be able to have success against a Bucks team that's bad in transition, bad guarding transition, bad guarding the mid-range. So DeRozan should be just fine. Them operating in the mid-range with Fox and Sabonis more often if they don't have Monk out there to be another facilitator. And the Kings are on this heater despite allowing what you could consider kind of unlucky 38% on above the break threes, don't really respect the Bucks 3-point shooting other than Dame. I mean, maybe Gary Trent and AJ out of the corners. But yeah, I just don't think that they have that much beyond Giannis, that Giannis has enough help right now to be a really good team. They are 3-6 against the West this year. And one of those wins extremely lucky against Houston. One, the other two against, I think, Portland and Utah. So like, can they beat good teams? They're 6-11 against the spread at home. They're trying to bounce back here, sure, but they also have Orlando tomorrow. And the Bucks have been kind of a team that concentrates more on these big Eastern Conference matchups. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings give another great effort here, and that the Bucks are not necessarily in prime bounce back mode.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I do think Keon Ellis being out there would be great for that under. Everything just becomes better on defense above the break, especially. And look, like you said, like if we have Dame, if we have Monk playing in this game, why would you still not play Keon Ellis 30 to 32 minutes? Find him minutes. I mean, if you need to guard, the problem obviously is that you need to guard Giannis. And so I think we're going to see some Trey Lyles as well in there to be able to help out, because I don't know who else comes in to do that. Keegan Murray's about to be a pincushion if they just leave him on Giannis. That's just unfair. So, and it's not like they have a ton of rim protection behind him. Domas having maybe his best defensive season, and it's still just not going to equate to being able to limit Giannis when he gets to the rim. So I also am starting I should say, when Trey Lyles is out there, also not going to increase the offense. Keegan Murray's still been much better on offense this year, so that's a big part of the help. That's why I like the big man being in there. They're going to have so many problems with Giannis, but at the same time, if you can limit Dame, and that's what you're saying here, is just like, yeah, Giannis going Giannis. Like, it's fine. There's nobody on this team for Giannis. That's it, though. After that, like, I don't think Brolo is going to have a good time in this game. There's going to be a lot of other guys as well. So, and no Chris Middleton. But let me go to Phoenix here and take -5 for the Suns and just be not scared. Forget that the Suns lost to the Hornets in the last 5 games, and everything looks a lot better. They beat them. We forgot that they won by double digits, not lost somehow. That game I'm not even going to get into, but in the last 5, that's the blemish on their record. They're 4-1 straight up. It's crazy that that's their loss, but they're 4-1 straight up, 2-2-1 against the spread, and they did cover the 6 versus Atlanta in their last matchup like 3 games ago or so. Now we're talking about no Jalen Johnson for Atlanta. Brad Beal coming off the bench for Phoenix seems to have at least unlocked even more point Booker than anything, and really opened up the starting lineup and the offense as well. So I like what I've seen in the last 5 from them. They are still going to be a jump shooting mid-range team. They're not going to dunk on you or get to the rim. There's very few. Maybe some Ryan Dunn, I got his name down. Iguodaro. I'll get back to it. But the young rook center who sounds like Iguodala, but I think it's Iguodaro. So those dudes are the only ones playing above the rims. It's kind of like the Warriors here. It's just a jump shooting team, but Atlanta is not a good defense, and it's not a good jump shooting defense specifically. If you look at the last 5 for this team, for the Suns, number 1 in mid-range points. They've been in the top 10 all season. Atlanta's 30th in limiting mid-range points. Third in corner threes made. As I said, like, the ball pressure has to come out to Booker a lot, and KD's also playing above the break. So most of the defense is going to be above the break or on the wing, which does leave some corner threes open when these guys drive. It's why they were 3rd in corner threes made in the last 5, 7th in the last 10, and Atlanta is bottom 5 in limiting the corner 3 on the season. And then you look at the Jalen Johnson stuff. I mean, I probably should have led with this, but I at least wanted to give the Suns a little bit of credit here that, like, they've turned a bit of a corner. Maybe the Budenholzer sort of change to Beal coming off the bench will work. We'll see. But with and without Jalen Johnson is going to be a pretty big, stark difference here for Atlanta. With him, they're 17-15 on the season. They're also, I believe, 16. They are actually 18-14 on against the spread with him. 114 defensive rating and 114 offensive rating. A 500 ball club. Pretty good, better than the bad teams in the East, not as good as the very good ones. But when they don't have him, it's only been 6 games, but it's 2-4. It's 124 defensive rating and 110 offensive rating. And Dyson Daniels just can't do this all by himself. But once you put him out there without Jalen Johnson, it's like Clint Capella at the rim, and that's the one spot on the floor that you have covered pretty well. Not even that good this year. And I don't know how they're going to stop Phoenix from scoring if Phoenix does decide to get to the rim at all at any point. Like, maybe Clint Capella is there for it, but there's going to be a lot of space between the 3-point line and the rim for this Phoenix Suns team to work with. And that's the key, is one step inside the 3-point line. This is the best team in the NBA. So I'm going to take them to cover 5 here on the road.
It's 3.5, actually, just
Great.
flipped because Trae Young was spotted at shoot around. So
okay.
I
Got it.
guess that's why you were hanging a 5
Yeah.
initially, is that he
He
might
was
not
a
go.
5 20 minutes ago. Yeah.
He's sick, so that kind of negates the extra rest the Hawks got here with their last game postponed. And either
Right.
way, I mean, they're 0-2 against the spread on long rest this year, and they're 4-14 against the West against the spread. So
Mm.
yeah, just to kind of not a team I want to trust without Jalen Johnson. Which yeah, you did bury the lead there.
Yeah.
Maybe their most important two-way player
Yeah.
is out. And yeah, I mean, as long as the Suns don't miss every single three like they did in Charlotte, they should be good to go. But yeah, they still got the mid range weapon too.
And the offense is so stagnant without JJ. It's just back to the Trey Young with the pick and roll, and if there's an open guy on the wing, then we're good. But the open guy on the wing right now is like Dyson Daniels because Bogey's also questionable. It's not built right without Jalen Johnson. He's just fixes all the holes for this team, and he's not out there. So that's all the time we have for you though in Best Bets. Make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the play of props that we have up for you as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.